Thank you, Fred. Good evening. On behalf of myself and Raheel Raza, who is also another participant in the film, I would like to welcome you to the first Canadian screening of Honor Diaries. It was just released this year and has showcased in various film festivals throughout the United States, as well in the UK, and has already received several honorable mentions and awards. We're very proud of that, and it's supported by 30 diverse women's rights and human rights groups, and this support is growing. Thank you, Fred Litwin and your Free Thinking Society for showcasing this important film. It's the first film to break silence on honor violence against women and girls. And thank you to the members of Parliament who will be joining us after their vote. They'll maybe sneaking in, so don't mind them. I'd also like to thank Mrs. Harper for attending. She's been involved in many women's rights projects, including helping save a young woman, not an elderly woman either, what do you call it? Just a woman, named Sakina Ashtiani, who was facing stoning in Iran. I'm happy to report the good news that just this week it was reported that they gave her a pardon and temporarily leave of prison. We don't know if it means temporary or if it's going to be extended. It's not clear, but she is safe as it stands. It proves that once again international pressure can make a difference in these cases, and why it's so important to showcase films like Honor Diaries, so that action can be taken by regular individuals. And just this week, though, I learned of another horrific and grave injustice of a young interior designer in Iran named Reyhaneh Jabari, who was lured into the home of a physician who used to be the former intelligence officer, part of the Iranian regime. And there he concocted a cocktail of sedatives for her, and he attempted to rape her. Out of self-defense, she stabbed him, and for the last 7 years she's been in prison, and she's at imminent risk of execution. We just found out about her case because her mother was not as scared as for the last 7 years and allowed us to showcase her campaign. And Shabnam Asadullahi, who's sitting right here at the front, Shabnam, if you'd like to stand up, she's spearheading a campaign to release her. She's involved in the petition that I encourage you to sign. The petition has been blocked in Iran, so people inside Iran can't sign, but individuals here and throughout the rest of the world, please go on my website, on my Facebook page, Twitter, or Shabnam's, and you'll find the petition link there, Reyhaneh. This is exactly the type of reasons why we are having film screenings and conversations and gatherings. The aim of Honor Diaries is simple: to shed light on a horrific and shockingly common practice that takes place in many countries around the world, and that is of honor violence. The women's rights activists who are showcased in the film are all from honor-based societies and believe that culture is no excuse for abuse. We gather to speak up and be part of the solution. And just to be clear, I'm sure Raheel will make it clear, but honor killings frequently take place in Muslim cultures, but Islam does not, nor does any major world religion sanction this kind of violence. But honor crimes don't just take place in far distant lands. We see it here in the West as well. If people knew the extent of the honor violence that continues to take place in places like the United Kingdom, the United States, and here in Canada, I think you would be shocked and horrified. And you may have read just this week of a 56-year-old Saudi man who is here in Canada on a student visa and assaulted and choked his daughter and threatened to kill her for shaming the family for marrying a non-Muslim from Newfoundland. 1,500 forced marriages take place every year in the United States. 200,000 Americans face female genital mutilation. 3,000 honor attacks take place in the United Kingdom alone every year. Now, I chose to take part in Honor Diaries simply because I believe that these kinds of abuses must end, and that gender apartheid in countries like my homeland in Iran also must end. In Iran, the life of a woman is legally and literally valued as being half of a man's. But there's another reason why I also participated in this film. Frankly, I was tired of various groups becoming apologists for heinous acts committed by extremist groups and defending it as cultural practices that the rest of us need to be sensitive to. I'm sorry, when abhorrent acts are taking place, there needs to be an end to these misogynist practices, whether rooted in culture or religion. I always say cultural relativism has no place when it comes to the rights of people and the well-being of regular individuals. I'm sure you all also remember the case of the Shafia family. Mr. Shafia, who committed an honor killing of his first wife and 3 daughters, the car ended up in the Rideau Canal in Kingston, and he requested to be reviewed by a Sharia type of court, but Sharia has no place in Canada. There is a lot of people think, well, Sharia in Canada, that's never going to happen, but really it's not that far-fetched. It was deliberated a few years ago to have it part of the legal system. Of course, there was a big no Sharia campaign that was successful, but just this week in the UK, the headlines in the Telegraph read, "Islamic law is adopted by British legal chiefs. The Law Society, High Street solicitors will be able to write Islamic wills that deny women an equal share of inheritances and exclude unbelievers altogether." This is what we face, and can happen here. We need to be having these conversations. Moderate Muslims need to be standing up against these fundamentalist groups too, in order to protect the sanctity of their own religion. All of us need to stand up, because this is not the problem of one religion or culture, it spans. Essentially, Honor Diaries is not just a movie. We say it is a movement for people to open up a dialogue on these important matters that affect millions of women and girls, but also affects our safety and well-being here in our own backyard. I'll end it here because the film really speaks for itself. I have only seen the 30-minute version, so I look forward to watching the 1-hour version, which I'll probably do as soon as I leave the stage at home, because my son, who's almost a year old, is very clingy in the past 2 days, and he needs his mama, so I'm unfortunately going to have to leave you here, but you're going to be in wonderful company with Raheel and her husband Sohail. They're going to be discussing on the panel, and I'm sure you're going to enjoy Honor Diaries. Enjoy.